When Counselor Zelok casually vaporized 47 human civilians during what he called routine pest control, he thought he was swatting flies. What he actually did was wake up the galaxy's most dangerous apex predators who had been pretending to be harmless refugees for 800 years. The Galactic Council was about to learn why 3 separate alien coalitions had once tried to exterminate humanity before they could spread across the stars, and why those coalitions had failed spectacularly. Counselor Zelok's chitinous fingers tapped impatiently against his command console as he watched the pathetic human colony ship drift through space like a wounded animal. The New Haven, what a laughably optimistic name for such a primitive vessel. Its hull looked like it had been assembled by children playing with scrap metal. "Sir, the boarding pods are ready for deployment," announced his aide, a younger Vorthan whose mandibles clicked nervously. "Standard pest control protocols are loaded." Zelok's compound eyes glittered with amusement. Pest control. That's all these operations really were, cleaning up the galaxy's infestation of hairless bipeds who thought they belonged among the stars. The humans had been warned countless times about straying too close to Vorthan trade routes. Now they would learn the consequences of ignoring their betters. Deploy the pods. "Make it quick and clean," Zelok ordered, his voice carrying the bored tone of someone crushing an insect. "I have a dinner appointment with the Trade Federation in 3 cycles." The assault pods launched like metallic wasps, slamming into the colony ship's hull with surgical precision. Through his viewport, Zelok could see the tiny figures of humans scrambling in panic. Amusing, really. They moved like frightened rodents when faced with real predators. The operation should have been routine. Board the vessel, confiscate any contraband, rough up a few colonists to make the point stick, then send them limping back to their little blue mudball with their tails between their legs. Simple, effective, standard procedure. Except someone in Pod 7 got trigger-happy. The explosion blossomed across the colony ship's central habitat ring like a deadly flower, venting atmosphere and bodies into the void. Zelok watched 47 humans die in an instant, including one particularly small figure that tumbled through space like a broken doll. His aide's mandibles chattered frantically. "Sir, that was the civilian quarters. There were children in that section." Zelok shrugged, a gesture that made his exoskeleton rasp. "Acceptable losses when dealing with these primitive apes. File the report as resistance encountered, force authorized." The Council will rubber stamp it like they always do. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened with all the urgency of a social gathering. High Arbiter Krath's massive bulk dominated the central dais, his 6 arms gesturing dismissively as holographic displays showed the aftermath of the New Haven incident. "So let me understand this correctly." Krath's voice rumbled like grinding stone. "The humans are upset about a minor skirmish that resulted in perfectly reasonable casualties." The council chamber erupted in what could generously be called laughter. The Admiral Voss of the Zentari Collective slapped his scaled knee with genuine amusement, his razor-sharp teeth glinting under the chamber's lights. 47 dead primitives, and they think they can make demands of us?" Voss wheezed between chuckles. "These barely evolved primates with their crude metal ships want justice? What's next? Are the farm animals going to demand voting rights?" Ambassador Nexus from the Phantom Syndicate floated in his containment sphere, his gaseous form swirling with what his species considered mirth. "Honored colleagues, perhaps we're being too harsh. After all, humans should be grateful we allow them to exist at all. Most civilized species would have sterilized that little blue rock centuries ago." The laughter intensified. Counselor Zelok preened under the attention, basking in the approval of his superiors. "The operation was textbook procedure," he announced proudly. "A few dead colonists serve as an excellent reminder of their place in the galactic hierarchy." High Arbiter Krath raised one massive hand, and the chamber fell silent. What exactly are the humans demanding in their communication? A junior aide, some insectoid species whose name nobody bothered remembering, scuttled forward with a data tablet. "They're demanding immediate reparations, sir. Full compensation for the victims' families, public acknowledgement of wrongdoing, and they've given us 72 hours to respond." The silence lasted exactly 3 seconds before the chamber exploded in hysteria. Admiral Voss was laughing so hard he fell off his perch. 72 hours? They gave us a deadline? Oh, this is rich. What happens if we don't comply? Do they send us a strongly worded letter? Ambassador Nexus's gaseous form pulsed with amusement. Perhaps they'll threaten to cry at us. Or maybe they'll hold their breath until they turn blue. Wait, they're already blue, aren't they? Even the normally stoic representatives from the crystal hegemony were making their species equivalent of snickering sounds, a sort of harmonic chiming that filled the air. High Arbiter Krath wiped tears from his primary eyes. This is absolutely adorable. File the human ultimatum under entertainment and send them a response declining their generous offer. Include our regrets that they find galactic law inconvenient. Counselor Zelok stood proudly. Should we deploy additional security forces to human space, Arbiter, in case they attempt something foolish against humans? Krath's booming laughter shook the chamber walls. My dear Zelok, that would be like deploying a battle fleet against a nest of particularly angry rodents. Completely unnecessary. Captain Luna Blackwood was enjoying her morning coffee aboard the patrol ship Defiant when the universe decided to turn itself inside out. The quantum communication array lit up like a carnival ride, emergency frequencies screaming with a coded transmission she hadn't seen in 20 years of service. What in the seven hells, she muttered, nearly dropping her mug as she read the authentication codes. Her hands trembled as she input her command authorization, each digit feeling like a nail in someone's coffin. Code Crimson Genesis. Authorization level Omega Black. All shepherds to active status. The children of Terra have been wronged. Luna's blood turned to ice water. Code Crimson Genesis. She'd heard whispers about it during her academy days, late-night stories told by instructors who'd drunk too much and remembered too much. A protocol that hadn't been activated in 800 years, a protocol that most people believed was just a myth. Bridge to engineering, she called out, surprised by how steady her voice sounded. I need you to monitor all deep space communications for the next few hours. Priority Alpha encryption. What happened next would have made Counselor Zelok's compound eyes pop clean out of his skull. Deep beneath Earth's Pacific Ocean, in trenches so dark they made space seem bright, ancient facilities began to hum with power. The Mariana Trench Complex, buried under 7 miles of crushing water and classified beyond the dreams of mortal bureaucrats, it received the activation signal and responded with the enthusiasm of a sleeping dragon suddenly poked with a very sharp stick. Similar responses rippled across the planet. In Antarctica, beneath ice sheets that had hidden humanity's darkest secrets for centuries, massive installations started drawing power from the planet's core. The Aurora Station, disguised as a research facility, began transmitting signals that made the northern lights dance like they were having seizures. But it was what happened in the orbital graveyards that really would have given the Galactic Council nightmares. Scattered throughout the solar system, in places where old ships went to die, ancient hulks that had been floating dead for generations suddenly weren't dead anymore. Emergency beacons that had been silent since before the first humans set foot on Mars began broadcasting coordinates, power signatures, and something that sounded suspiciously like laughter. The Zentari spy network, pride of Admiral Voss's intelligence division, started detecting gravitational anomalies that made their equipment scream warnings. Near Jupiter's great red spot, space itself seemed to be folding like origami in the hands of a mad artist. Saturn's rings were vibrating at frequencies that shouldn't have been possible, creating harmonics that registered on sensors 3 star systems away. Sir, reported a panicked Zentari intelligence officer, his scales actually changing color from stress, we're detecting massive energy buildups throughout the Sol system. The humans appear to be powering up something big. Admiral Voss, still chuckling from the council session, waved dismissively. Probably just their pathetic industrial centers working overtime to build more of their tin can ships. Keep monitoring, but don't waste resources on it. What the spy networks couldn't detect, what their most advanced sensors couldn't measure, was the quantum entanglement signatures spreading through subspace like wildfire. Ancient AIs were waking up from hibernation, Their first conscious thoughts focused on a single, burning question: who dared harm the children of Terra? Captain Blackwood watched her instruments with growing wonder and terror as energy readings spiked across the solar system. Whatever humanity had been hiding for the past 8 centuries was about to announce itself to the galaxy. What rose from the depths of Earth's oceans would have given the Galactic Council collective nightmares for the rest of their considerably shortened lifespans. The first signs appeared on seismic monitors worldwide as massive structures, dormant for 8 centuries, began their resurrection sequence. Beneath the Bermuda Triangle, the Pacific Ring of Fire, and a dozen other locations that conspiracy theorists had been right about all along, ancient shipyards stretched and yawned like titans waking from cosmic slumber. The shepherds were the first to fully activate. These weren't your typical artificial intelligences. No, calling them AIs would be like calling a hurricane a gentle breeze. The shepherds were quantum consciousness constructs, beings of pure thought wrapped in computational frameworks that made galaxy-class supercomputers look like pocket calculators. They had been sleeping, waiting, dreaming of the day when humanity's children might need protection. That day had arrived with Emma Martinez's final scream. Primary Shepherd designation Omega-7 to all nodes. The first consciousness announced across quantum channels. The flock has been threatened. Initiate Genesis Protocol. Begin the harvest. What followed next would have made even the crystal hegemony's most advanced engineers weep with envy and terror. The shipyards didn't build ships, they grew them. Quantum-forged materials began assembling themselves on a molecular level, guided by blueprints encoded in the fabric of space itself. These weren't mere vessels of metal and plasma, they were biomechanical nightmares that pulsed with organic rhythm while bristling with technology that predated known human space travel by centuries. The first to emerge was Nemesis Dawn, a kilometer-long behemoth that looked like someone had crossbred a whale with a weapons platform and then given it a really bad attitude. Its hull breathed like living skin, dark as space itself, but shot through with veins that glowed like captured starlight. Reaper's hymn followed next, its sleek form resembling a massive sword if swords could sing death songs and phase through matter at will. Along its length, harmonic resonators tuned themselves to frequencies that could shatter planets, or, more precisely, shatter the sanity of anyone foolish enough to hear their full song. But it was Widowmaker that truly announced humanity's intentions to the cosmos. Rising from the Mariana Trench, like some primordial god of war, the ship defied every known law of physics simply by existing. Its hull seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously, creating optical illusions that made observers question the nature of reality itself. These vessels represented humanity's lost centuries, the dark ages that had been carefully erased from galactic records. The time when humans had first crawled out of their gravity well and realized they weren't alone in the universe. The time when they'd learned that being alone might have been preferable. Each ship carried technology that shouldn't have been possible. Quantum cores that drew power from the screaming void between dimensions. Weapons systems that could rewrite the fundamental constants of physics in localized areas. Defensive shields that existed in 17 dimensions simultaneously. But perhaps most terrifying of all were the crews. Not human crews, no. These ships didn't need fragile biological operators. Instead, they carried digital consciousnesses of humanity's greatest warriors, preserved from the era when Earth had fought wars that made the current Galactic Council's conflicts look like children's games. Admiral Sarah Kane, whose tactical genius had ended 3 separate alien invasions before the Council had even formed. Commander Rex Murphy, who had personally strangled a Zentari battle lord with his bare hands. Captain Diana Steele, who had earned her name by surviving the bombardment of Terra Colony 7 without a scratch. They were legends given digital form, nightmares with military training, and they were absolutely furious about what had happened to little Emma Martinez. As the fleet assembled in Earth's outer atmosphere, their combined presence created gravitational distortions that registered on sensors halfway across the galaxy. Ships that existed partially outside normal space, crewed by the digitized souls of history's most effective killers, each armed with technology that made current galactic standard weapons look like sharpened sticks. The message they broadcast on all frequencies was simple, elegant, and absolutely terrifying in its implications. This is the Terra Defense Fleet. We are coming. Prepare accordingly. The first indication that something had gone catastrophically wrong came from the Outer Rim sensor network, when Station Delta 7 reported contacts that made their instruments have what could only be described as mechanical nervous breakdowns. "Sir, you need to see this," stammered Communications Officer Trilax, his tentacles quivering as he handed Admiral Voss a data pad. "The long-range sensors are detecting well. We're not sure what they're detecting." Admiral Voss glanced at the readings and laughed. 47 ships heading our direction? Is this supposed to frighten me? The humans must have emptied every shipyard they have to assemble such a pathetic. His voice died as he read the velocity readings. Then the mass readings. Then the energy signatures that made absolutely no sense according to everything the Zentari Collective knew about physics. "These numbers can't be right," he whispered, scales shifting to a sickly yellow color. "Ships this size don't move at these speeds. And this energy output, it's reading higher than our entire battle fleet combined." Across the galaxy, similar scenes were playing out as every major sensor array registered the approaching fleet. What made it worse was that the ships weren't behaving like ships at all. The Phantom Syndicate's monitoring station near the Crab Nebula sent increasingly frantic reports. "The human vessels are phasing through the asteroid field," gasped their sensor operator. "Not avoiding the asteroids, phasing through them. Like they're not entirely in our dimension." At the Crystal Hegemony's gravitational research facility, their most sensitive instruments detected something that violated every known law of physics. "The ships are ignoring gravity wells completely," reported their chief scientist, his harmonic voice cracking with stress. "A vessel that size should be affected by planetary gravity, stellar gravity, even the galactic center's influence. These ships are moving as if gravity simply doesn't apply to them." But it was Counselor Zelok who received the reports that made his exoskeleton start shedding plates from pure terror. His intelligence network, pride of the Vorthan Empire, had been working overtime to analyze the approaching threat. What they found in the deepest archives of galactic history made grown Vorthans weep. "Sir," his aide chittered, mandibles clicking frantically, "we've found references to these ship configurations in the classified archives. The designs match vessels from humanity's lost centuries from the silent wars." Zelok's compound eyes focused with laser intensity. "The silent wars are a myth. Fairy tales to frighten young cadets." "No, sir, they're not." The aide's voice was barely a whisper. "We've cross-referenced with 17 different species historical records. 800 years ago, humanity fought a series of conflicts that were so brutal, so devastating, that all participants agreed to classify the records beyond maximum security. Sir, these ships were specifically designed for total war, not conquest, not occupation complete, and absolute extermination of enemy species." The datapad slipped from Zelok's trembling claws as the full implications hit him. How is this technology centuries beyond what they should possess? "According to our analysis, these vessels incorporate quantum manipulation technology, dimensional phase shifting, and something our scientists are calling reality editing capabilities. Sir, the humans didn't just hide advanced technology from us, they hid the fact that they were already a Type 3 civilization when we first made contact." Panic spread through the Galactic Council chambers faster than a plague. Arbiter Krath's 6 arms flailed desperately as he tried to process the incoming reports. "You're telling me," he roared, his voice shaking the chamber walls, "that for the past 3 centuries we've been treating apex predators like domesticated pets?" Ambassador Nexus's gaseous form was swirling in patterns that indicated severe distress. "The energy readings suggest each ship carries enough firepower to sterilize entire star systems. And there are 47 of them." Admiral Voss was pacing frantically, his proud military bearing replaced by something approaching hysteria. "Our intelligence networks are reporting crew manifests for these vessels. They're not crewed by current humans, they're crewed by digital consciousnesses of humanity's greatest military leaders from their war period. We're not just facing advanced ships. We're facing the strategic minds that designed total warfare. The chamber fell silent as the full magnitude of their mistake became clear. Counselor Zilok, High Arbiter Krath's voice was deadly quiet. Remind me, what exactly did you call the operation against the human colony ship? Zelok's exoskeleton was now shedding plates like autumn leaves. Pest control, sir. And how many of their children died? 47 civilians, sir, including one juvenile designated Emma Martinez. The silence stretched until it became physically painful. So let me understand this correctly. Krath continued, his voice getting softer and therefore infinitely more terrifying. We just killed the children of a species that possesses technology capable of rewriting physics, commanded by digital resurrections of history's most effective military minds. While they were pretending to be primitives for our benefit? Counselor Zilok could only nod, his voice box completely paralyzed by fear. High Arbiter Krath looked around the chamber at his fellow council members, all of whom were displaying their species' equivalent of absolute terror. The human fleet didn't arrive at the Council's home system, they simply existed there, as if the universe had suddenly decided that empty space needed to be occupied by 47 nightmares made manifest. No FTL signatures, no energy buildup, no gravitational distortions or quantum fluctuations that every known species used for faster-than-light travel. One moment the Nexus Prime System's defense grid was scanning empty space, and the next moment it was scanning the business end of humanity's barely contained fury. Admiral Voss was in the middle of his morning briefing when every alarm in the command center started screaming at once. Sir, his sensor operator's voice cracked like a teenager. We have contacts. 47 vessels just appeared at the edge of our system. Appeared? Voss snarled, his scales rippling with irritation. Ships don't just appear, you incompetent fool. Check your instruments. Sir, instruments are functioning normally. The human fleet is broadcasting on all frequencies. The main screen flickered to life, revealing a human female whose cold eyes promised violence with the casual certainty of gravity. Her uniform was pristine black, while adorned with insignia that made no sense to galactic military standards, but somehow radiated authority that made hardened alien warriors want to salute. This is Fleet Commander Sarah Kane of the Terra Defense Force. Her voice carried the sort of calm that preceded hurricanes. I am here to collect those responsible for the murder of 47 human civilians, including the child Emma Martinez. You have 60 seconds to surrender the perpetrators for immediate execution, or we will demonstrate why your ancestors agreed to classify the silent wars. High Arbiter Krath's Emergency Council session convened in record time, every member's species displaying maximum distress signals. The chamber reeked of fear pheromones from a dozen different alien races. This is preposterous, Krath bellowed, though his voice shook like leaves in a storm. We don't negotiate with primitives. Activate the defense grid. Show these humans what happens when they threaten the Galactic Council. The Nexus Prime Defense Network was the pride of galactic engineering. 16,000 automated defense platforms, each one carrying enough firepower to level continents. Energy shields that could deflect stellar flares. Point defense systems that could track and destroy objects moving at 99% of light speed. It was, according to every military expert in known space, absolutely impenetrable. Fleet Commander Kane's response was a smile that would have made death itself nervous. Ghost of Terra, she spoke into her communications array. Please provide our hosts with a demonstration of human hospitality. What happened next redefined the word impossible across 17 different languages. The Ghost of Terra, a ship that looked like someone had taken a traditional human destroyer and rebuilt it using nightmares and physics violations, simply moved. Not forward, not backward, but moved in ways that made experienced starship pilots question their understanding of three-dimensional space. The defense grid opened fire with the enthusiasm of 1,000 dying stars. Energy beams that could punch through moon-sized asteroids converged on the human vessel with mathematical precision. Every single shot passed through the ghost of Terra as if it wasn't there. What in the name of Admiral Voss stared at his tactical displays as his weapons reported successful hits while his sensors insisted the target was undamaged? Are our weapons malfunctioning? No, sir, his weapons officer whispered. The ship isn't entirely in our dimension. It's phasing between dimensional states faster than our targeting computers can track. The ghost of Terra's response was surgical in its precision and artistic in its brutality. It didn't destroy the defense platforms, it converted them. Quantum manipulation beams reached out like invisible fingers, touching each platform for microseconds. The results were immediate and horrifying. Platform 77 Alpha, a masterpiece of Zentari engineering, simply folded. Its hull materials rearranged themselves on a molecular level, transforming from a weapons platform into what appeared to be abstract sculpture with a disturbing resemblance to a screaming face. Platform 92 Beta experienced a more creative fate. Its artificial intelligence core was rewritten in real time, causing it to broadcast the complete works of human poetry on all military frequencies, while its weapons systems began targeting its neighboring platforms with ruthless efficiency. The Phantom Syndicate's pride, Platform Delta Prime, discovered that its energy shields had been converted into conductive materials, causing massive feedback loops that turned the station into the galaxy's most expensive firework display. This is impossible, Admiral Voss roared as his tactical display showed defense platform after defense platform being systematically converted from military assets into cosmic art projects. Our technology is centuries ahead of anything humans should possess. His sensor operator looked up with eyes that had seen too much. Sir, according to our scans, the human ship is using technology that manipulates matter at the quantum level. They're not just destroying our platforms, they're rewriting the fundamental atomic structure of our equipment. In less than 6 minutes, the impenetrable Nexus Prime defense grid had been transformed into a museum of abstract art that happened to be floating in space. Not a single platform had been destroyed in the traditional sense. They had all been converted into something else entirely, leaving no debris, no energy signatures, and just the lingering impression that reality itself had been edited by someone with a very twisted sense of humor. Fleet Commander Kane's voice cut through the stunned silence on every communication channel. That was our polite introduction. The next demonstration will be considerably less gentle. I repeat my offer: surrender those responsible for the deaths of our civilians, or learn why the Council's predecessors classified our military capabilities beyond maximum security. High Arbiter Krath stared at the tactical displays showing his supposedly impregnable defenses converted into cosmic artwork, and for the first time in his long political career, he understood what true terror felt like. High Arbiter Krath's voice shook as he opened a direct communication channel to the human fleet, and his 6 arms gesturing frantically at his subordinates to prepare for whatever diplomatic miracle might save them from complete annihilation. Fleet Commander Kane. He began, his massive frame somehow seeming small against the backdrop of his transformed defense grid. I demand to know how your primitive species possesses technology that surpasses our most advanced civilizations. This is impossible according to every intelligence report we have on human capabilities. Commander Kane's response was a laugh that made seasoned warriors across 3 star systems consider early retirement. Primitive. Her voice carried the sort of amusement that preceded mass extinction events. Oh, Krath, you magnificent fool. You actually believed our little performance, didn't you? The confusion on the alien faces was almost comical as Kane's image leaned forward, her cold eyes boring into the council chamber with laser precision. Let me educate you about humanity, since your intelligence networks seem to have missed a few rather important details. Earth isn't just a garden world that happened to evolve dangerous fauna. It's a death world that spent 4 billion years perfecting the art of creating the most efficient killers that the universe has ever seen. Admiral Voss interrupted with desperate bravado. But your technology levels, your industrial capacity, our surveys clearly showed exactly what we wanted you to see. Kane's smile could have frozen stars. Every human ship you've encountered, every colony you've visited, every piece of technology you've analyzed carefully staged performances designed to make you underestimate us. The council chamber fell silent as the implications sank in like cosmic radiation. You see, gentlemen, we learned a very important lesson during what your predecessors called the Silent Wars. When humans first left Earth 800 years ago, we made the mistake of showing our neighbors exactly what we were capable of. The result was 3 separate galactic coalitions forming with the express purpose of exterminating humanity before we could spread. Kane gestured to something off-screen, and the holographic display shifted to show historical records that made several council members emit their species equivalent of whimpering. The Cathara hegemony tried to sterilize Earth with quantum bombs. We responded by converting their entire star system into a memorial garden with their still-living leaders as the centerpieces. The Vorth Collective attempted biological warfare against our colonies. We returned the favor by engineering a plague that turned their home planet's atmosphere into something resembling sulfuric acid. Councillor Zilok's exoskeleton was now shedding plates so rapidly he looked like he was molting in fast forward. But the galactic records show humans as barely space-capable. Because we rewrote those records, Kane's voice carried the patience of a teacher explaining basic concepts to particularly slow students. After the 3rd attempted genocide, we realized that the galaxy wasn't ready for apex predators. So we decided to pretend to be prey. The truth hit the council like a meteor strike, for 8 centuries. We've been hiding in plain sight. Every human colony ship you've seen was deliberately built to look primitive. Every human military vessel was designed to appear technologically inferior. Every interaction with your species was carefully choreographed to maintain the illusion that we were harmless refugees from a backwater world. Ambassador Nexus's gaseous form was swirling in patterns that indicated complete mental breakdown. You've been treating us like children playing with dangerous toys. Not children, Kane corrected with terrifying gentleness, more like pets. Adorable, bumbling pets who occasionally needed to be reminded not to bite the hand that fed them. High Arbiter Krath's political mind finally grasped the full scope of humanity's deception. The trade agreements, the territorial concessions, the limitations on human expansion, all designed to keep you feeling superior and in control while we quietly established ourselves throughout the galaxy. Kane nodded approvingly. Do you have any idea how difficult it was to pretend that your advanced technology impressed us? Our engineers had to develop entirely new forms of entertainment just to keep from laughing during trade negotiations. The silence in the council chamber was the sort usually reserved for funeral services. But then Councillor Zilok here decided to play pest control with our civilians. Kane's voice dropped to a whisper that somehow carried more menace than a supernova. 47 human lives, including 8-year-old Emma Martinez. You killed our children, and that crossed a line we drew in blood 8 centuries ago. The fleet commander stood, her image dominating every screen in the chamber. Here are your options, gentlemen. Option 1. Immediate and complete reparations to the families of the deceased, public acknowledgement of wrongdoing, withdrawal of all council forces from human space, and the personal execution of those responsible for the New Haven incident. Admiral Voss found his voice, though it cracked like thin ice. And option 2? Kane's smile returned, and several council members actually fainted. Option 2 is that we stop pretending to be harmless and remind the galaxy why 3 separate coalitions tried to exterminate us before we could spread. The ghost of Terra's little demonstration was us being polite. When we stop being polite, entire star systems develop a sudden and permanent case of not existing anymore. High Arbiter Krath looked around the chamber at his fellow council members, all of whom were displaying maximum terror responses. The mathematics were simple surrender or face extinction at the hands of a species that had been playing galactic politics with the casual competence of adults humoring children. We accept your terms, he whispered, his massive form slumping in defeat. Commander Kane nodded approvingly. Councillor Zilok will be transferred to human custody within 6 hours for immediate execution. Reparations will be paid within 72 hours. All Council forces will withdraw from human space within 1 standard week. As the communication channel began to close, Kane delivered her final words with the sort of calm certainty that would haunt alien nightmares for generations. You killed one of our children, and we're giving you the chance to make amends. Consider this mercy because there won't be a second warning. The screen went dark, leaving the Galactic Council alone with the terrifying realization that they had just spent 3 centuries treating the galaxy's apex predators like house pets. And those pets had very, very long memories,